Abstention, motion carries. Councilor McCabe, will you please read the first resolution?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor.
Abstention, motion carries.
Resolution
Councilor McCabe,
R-21-4-59.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor.
Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the appointment of Paul Morris, 144 Jupiter Point Road, Groton, Connecticut, as a city councilor. I so move. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from the council? Deputy Mayor Dean.
I just want to say thank you to Paul Morris. Obviously, as we all know, he's on the slate for this upcoming May, but we had a vacancy happen earlier and he stepped up and offered to fill it in the interim. And that's very much appreciated because it's a little difficult to do business with vacancies.
Absolutely, thank you. Councilor Carter.
Just want to say about Mr. Norris that he has a lifetime of service. He's I believe, I don't know how much longer you have with the current employer, but as far as the service goes, since he's continuing it, he's going to be an asset to his council, and I'm looking forward to what he brings to the council. So welcome aboard.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments from the council? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Is there an oath? There is an oath, right?
Yes.
So Clerk Patrick, would you please administer the oath? Paul, if you could come front and center,
Oh, you gotta go to the podium or?
wherever you're comfortable and whatever we do on the camera.
Microphone won't get picked up, and we want to stand so that you're visible in
Yeah,
the
we want to
frame.
make sure that
In the frame.
in the camera.
If you could take a couple more steps.
This one.
Correct.
How's that?
Perfect. That's perfect. Thank you.
All right, Lisa, one.
Okay, would you raise your right hand, please, and I will read this to you, and then you will just say, I do. Okay, that's working. Paul Norris, do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully discharge the duties of city councilor according to the city charter, city ordinances, state statutes, and federal laws, and that you will serve in that office to the very best of your abilities, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations. I guess we're not supposed to do that, are we?
Well, please take your seat. We will get you
Just gonna turn it around.
oh, we have it.
Yeah.
Never mind. So there we go.
I was saying, you may want to say something.
Do you want to say it before we go on to the next thing, besides the next resolution?
Okay, thank you very much, Councilman. I just wanted to say thank you very much for allowing me to have the honor of serving the city residents and the council as a whole. And I hope that everyone around this table and everyone in the city also understand me, and I truly hope that I gain their trust.
Welcome aboard. All right, and if you could read resolution R-21-4-6.
Yes, I will. My voice was shaking a little bit. It's that quick. So R-21-4-60. Resolution that the mayor and council approve the appointment of Reginald Stanford as a probationary police officer grade D in the City of Groton Police Department. Waive the residency requirement and that the appointment be effective April 5th, 2020. I'm sorry, 2021.
And if we get you to read it, therefore be it resolved.
Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the appointment of Reginald Stanford as probationary police officer grade D in the City of Groton Police Department, waive the residential requirement, and that the appointment be effective April 5th, 2021. Then I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Open the floor for discussion. Councilor Carter.
I just wanted to add that Reginald Stanford is a resident of the city of Groton.
Okay, So,
I think that that's just a standard.
General Stern, no, I just want to add for our viewers that he is a resident.
that's true, because it's right around the corner.
Is there a second?
I-
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. We'll open the floor for discussion. Oh, actually, that's not true. Open, Chief, we'll let you go first and then we'll open the floor for discussion.
You
Chief
will have
Spell,
to
you have
turn
the
the
floor.
microphone back on, the little red button underneath. There's a, under, on the bottom, there's a little red button. No, on the very bottom where your left hand is.
Yeah.
Just press that little button in.
This one?
Yep.
Got it.
And then it should, the other thing should light up.
Yep.
Okay.
Good evening. Tonight I present to you Reginald Carlos Stanford, age 51. He is a city resident, and he'll probably be the first green hire of the police department because he can actually walk to work. He is a graduate of Dunbar Vocational High School in Chicago, Illinois. He has an associate's degree from Three Rivers Community College, bachelor's degree from Mitchell College, and he's pursuing his master's at the UConn School of Social Work. He's a board member for Community Speaks Out. He served on the city council of the city of Groton, and he is a justice of the peace. He is a Navy veteran of the United States Navy E5 honorable discharge, and he was in the sub-service. Served in the Illinois National Guard. He's a recent retiree of adult probation, where he was an adult probation officer for the state of Connecticut. I'm proud to present a respected and mature officer for his swearing-in time. He will undergo academy training, and after a state career, he's going to serve his local community as an officer. He has passed his written examination, his oral board, physical examination, where he passed for a man far younger than his current age. They have polygraph, psychological exam, chief's interview, and a thorough background investigation. Our process is highly competitive, and we do not cut corners. I too went through this after a long career in the Connecticut State Police, and I can say that it is difficult vetting that you go through here to serve. I have the honor to serve in this community. That a man could do all this to serve as a patrolman in his community is tremendous. Some people complain and point fingers. Great women and men step up and do. He will wear badge number 144 in a long history in the City of Groton Police Department. One thing I would like to point out is consummate professional tonight. Our city clerk, Deb Patrick, in a long career of city service, she has sworn in every officer serving currently in this department in some capacity. There's deep respect here for all in our agency for her professionalism, integrity, and commitment to community. She is all that is best in public service. It's an honor to serve with you, City Clerk Patrick, and call you a friend. He's going to be pinned by his mother, Ms. Willie Ann Stanford, who is with us tonight. So I'd like to call up our newest officer very shortly, Reginald Stanford, and Captain Jenkins as well.
Hold on a second. I need to, there's a little thing I gotta do that I sometimes forget. Are there any other comments from the council? Deputy Mayor D.
Well, I just wanted to say, I know the whole council is excited. We're sad to lose him on a council for this reason, but, you know, I've gotten to know him over the last couple of years being on the council, and I'm really excited for him to serve in the police department. And just thank you so much. As the chief said, you know, he served his community in several capacities, and he's continuing to do so. And just a great member of the community, and just want to thank you.
Any other councilor? Councilor Carter.
I just want to say, just speaking for Reggie, Reggie knows how I feel about him, how I feel about his family. I thank him as far as his continued service to, you know, to everybody, you know. Not often can you say that that a person has served in 3 branches of government, you know. Reggie's, he's done federal, state, and now local, you know. And this is something that I know that he's always wanted to do, you know. He's a product of Chicago, but you know, and he didn't let the after, you know, I don't want to say your age, but you know, he didn't let the years of turmoil like determine who define him, you know. And that's a good upbringing of his mother, who looks more like his sister than his mother. But I commend Reggie as Deputy Mayor Depot said, we're going to miss him, but his tenure here is definitely well accepted, and we look forward to seeing what you're going to do with the city. So, congratulations, brother.
Anyone else? council. Okay, I want to say I am extremely happy today because I've had an opportunity to work with you. I knew you before you were on the council, and then I ran with you and we got elected. You were on the council, you were a calming voice on the council. I see that in you as you go forward. I wish you nothing but the best of luck. So, God bless you. All right, with that, we need to take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, now we can do the swearing in and the pinning. Kirkpatrick, will you take the lead?
Decided if you stand about here and right in front of the seal, did that work out okay? Raise your right hand, please. Do you, Reginald Stanford, solemnly swear to affirm and affirm that you will faithfully support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Connecticut? You will discharge the duties of a police officer, grade D, of the City of Groton in accordance with the law and the rules and regulations of the city and said department. You will faithfully serve the citizens and visitors with honor and integrity. You will promote and maintain the public trust and adhere to the department's code of ethics. You assume these obligations freely, voluntarily, and without reservation. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Mr. Sanford, you have the honor of paying your son.
This is the right side.
Yes.
I'll make sure. I'm gonna stick. Close around.
Officer Sanford, you have the floor. Should you wish.
Thank you, everyone on the council, mayor, citizens in the city of Groton. This has been a lifelong opportunity for me, and I just thank God that I'm able to fulfill that dream. And thank you, Juan, for putting my badge on. It means a lot. I wish my dad was here to enjoy this moment, and for my friends who I asked to watch on Zoom. I love y'all. Thank you.
We are going to take a 5-minute recess so that we can get pictures with Officer Sanford now and also with our new council. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess.
Unmute.
Okay? All right, we're gonna call the meeting back to order. And the next thing is recognitions, awards, and memorials. Anything from the council? Receipt of citizens petitions. Receipt of citizens petitions, a portion of the council meeting where the council recognizes, welcomes comments from citizens. To address the council, please sign the sheet on the table in front of the meeting room. When you're recognized, please approach the podium or join via Zoom with the meeting ID. Clearly state your name and address. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes or less, and citizens should, if possible, submit email or written comments. Presentations should be related to matters pertinent to the city of Groton. City councilors will only ask questions in order to clarify the speaker's presentation and can respond during responses to citizens petition portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the room who's cited for citizens petitions? Okay. Is there anyone on Zoom that has a citizens petition or would like to address the council? Okay, then we will move on. We will skip response to citizens petition and comments as there are none. Approval of the minutes. I need a motion to accept March 1st, 2021 mayor and council meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. I need a motion to approve the March 22nd, 2021 committee of the whole meeting minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Communications and reports. So where's, I need her because could you get Jill?
She went to shut this door because they're.
Oh.
Right, understand. But the first communication report we have is economic development on the Groton River Walk, and that involves, well, we're going to do, so the first communication report we have is a presentation by Sierra Patrick, the economic development specialist. And we'll do that, and then we'll go around the room for the council. But this was a presentation that was going to be conducted during the committee of the whole, and we were unable to do it. So now we're going to do it under the communication report section.
Am I up now, Mayor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Give me 1 second.
Sierra, you have control of the screen.
All right. So good evening, everyone. This is Sierra Patrick, the city's economic development specialist. And I'm really delighted to share with you guys this ongoing community collaboration / academic exercise with the U.S. Coast Guard Academy and Design for Education. In just a moment, you'll hear from Louisa, Duncan, Brownwin, and Grace, whose capstone project involves developing a concept design for a system of walkways and public gathering spaces along Thames Street. We've coined the name of this project, Groton Riverwalk, and so I just wanted to do a little brief housekeeping. The best way for anybody to engage with us, learn more about this project, and get involved would be to visit the City of Groton's website. If you toggle over or kind of put your mouse over the engage cursor, you can just go down to the Groton Riverwalk, which is the name we've coined for this project. And this page will give you way more information about the projects and different ways that you can engage. I really encourage everyone to go to the community outreach session and participate in the survey. And I just want to give a really quick thanks to us citizens that have already provided their feedback to us. Feedback is greatly appreciated and it's very valuable. So just keep it coming. And now I will turn it over to Grace for the presentation. And Grace, you guys, I believe if you have to screen share, you should have access to do that as well. All right.
Can everyone hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City of Groton Council. Thank you, Ms. Patrick. So we are the cadets working on the City of Groton Riverwalk project. My name is First Class Bronwyn McGill. I'm here with First Class Duncan Clark, First Class Luisa Santos, and First Class Grace Tarbrake. Our advisors are Lieutenant Commander Blum and Lieutenant Heckman. Our project points of contact are Ms. Patrick and Ms. Fabre. So a little background about our project. We are 4 Coast Guard Academy cadets studying civil engineering here at the Academy. And this is our culminating senior year project, also known as a capstone. So we've spent half of the previous semester and almost all this semester working towards a situation of designs and different ideas for the City of Groton to use. This project is not official U.S. Coast Guard business, and it is purely a student-led academic project. So currently the City of Groton has over 5 miles of waterfront, which is not currently being used to its full potential for recreation and community involvement. The purpose of this project is to design a river walk that will give the Groton community more waterfront access and recreational space, as over 9,000 people live in the City of Groton and over 20,000 people commute into the area daily. This project will also improve the resilience of the City of Groton by incorporating flood and coastal erosion protection into the riverwalk design.
So our group has identified 3 points along the Thames River waterfront that we believe would increase waterfront access to Thames River. These 3 points are Thames View Park, which you can see on the map at the bottom of the screen, the water taxi terminal right above it, and the Northern Riverwalk at the top of the screen. So there's currently already plans for small marina and community gathering space at Thames View Park, and the water taxi terminal already exists and brings people from the New London to the City of Groton. So we have chosen to focus on the Northern Riverwalk as it has the most potential for civil engineering design. And we believe that the water taxi terminal could serve as an additional point of bringing people into the City of Groton to use the Northern Riverwalk as well as the Thames View Park. So the Northern Riverwalk, it is at the kind of edge of, it's right below the bridge at the K.E. Streeter boat ramp, starting at the K.E. Streeter boat ramp and running along the waterfront from the K.E. Streeter boat ramp to the property below 19 Thames Street. 19 Thames Street is privately owned. However, Ms. Patrick, as well as our group, have been in contact with the property owner discussing possible plans for this area. And we are currently exploring different options for a riverwalk that would minimize disturbance to the native slope in the river. As you can see, the area has already been tampered with and is currently lined with riprap. Some of the ideas that we have considered are terrace as well as pilings. However, currently, given the slope and the land conditions, we are considering most strongly pilings, such as a piling design for the riverwalk, such as those seen in the pictures on the screen.
Shortly after you walk under the railroad bridge next to the K Street boat launch, you come across a small cove set back from the river, as shown in these 2 photos above. Currently, the water is very shallow in the area, and it's lined by large riprap on all sides. Unfortunately, right now, there's quite a lot of litter. There's tires, plywood, just driftwood that's washed up in there, a lot of trash. So any part of this project would include a beautification of this area and Part of the project would also be figuring out the best way for the citizens to enjoy that area. So our first option on the next page here is having a walkway that goes around the small cove. So it would run the perimeter, and once at the back, there would be a small area to sit, maybe visit a friend, and if it was raining, maybe take some shelter there briefly, or just watch the sunset. So this slide shows a few of our relatively low cost, low maintenance designs that would just be sort of a fun space to have there right on the river. The other option that we're considering is some type of small footbridge actually going over the cove. As you can see, it's not a super wide cove, so this would be a smaller bridge, but similar to the other one, the other spaces just discussed, it would just be a nice place that you could hang out, go for a walk. It would be a little more of a challenge engineering wise because it would be a bridge, and the city would also need to apply through a permit with the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection due to the fact that any construction crossing the river is just, it's a different series of permits that has to go into that. So here's an example of something, the scale we were thinking of, just relatively simple, bare bones, but with a walkway and railings on either side, just to help people enjoy that natural area.
So there's currently an overlook located near 19th and 15th Thames Street, west of the submarine memorial, close to the river. This is a photograph that was taken from the overlook, and as you can see in the picture, it has a lot of overgrown vines and debris buildup. What you can't see in the photo is the litter and trash, similar to what Mr. Clark mentioned was in the cove. And it also has 2 or 3 broken and rotting picnic tables, and not a very appealing fence. But this location has a lot of potential, especially connecting to the Riverwalk. It would be a good point to stop, sit, view the sunset. It is facing west, so it does have a perfect view of the sun setting over the river. And it is also close to the Sudlet's World War II National Memorial, so it's in a good location if people were to come to Groton to tour the area, to view the river, different locations that we mentioned along the river. So these are some similar overlook projects. So our plan for this area would be to clean up the overgrown plants and trash buildup. As we said, it's already sort of being used as an overlook, so this would just be replacing the fence, removing those picnic tables that are already falling apart, and just making it more pleasing to the public to view the river. We also have in mind to create walking routes in the city of Groton, whether that's through signage or similar plants, and sort of mapping out multiple loops that could be mapped along the city of Groton, connecting the hot spots that are listed on the slide, whether that's a historical themed path or an ecological themed path. So some of the locations that are listed are the memorials, some of the historical buildings, and the various parks that are in the area, such as Fort Griswold and Washington Park. Along with this project, we will also be making recommendations for future projects to work on, and putting together sort of ideas that could be used in addition to our final design. So that could include improved public parking, which some of the property owners had mentioned is an issue in the city of Groton, revitalizing the existing docks or footings, a welcome center, public restrooms, recommendations for the expansion or improvement of the Riverwalk we are designing, and recommendations for the use of the brownfield, which is located to the south of 19th Thames Street. And we really appreciate you guys having us to come to the meeting, and we'll take any questions if anyone has anything.
Okay, we'll open the floor to the council. Councilor Sheffield.
Yes, do you plan on having lighting on the walkway on the river?
Yes, that will certainly be part of any design that we have. And we've actually been looking into sort of the best way to see if we can incorporate some sort of renewable energy source with that, whether it be like a solar panel lights, if that's possible. If not, we'll also be looking at how we can connect to the existing electrical infrastructure.
Any other councilors? Councilor McKay.
Hi, you talked about having historical themed walk areas. Is the signage going to include some sort of textual history of whatever local spot you happen to be at?
Yes, the idea is to include those sort of little historical blurbs, kind of similar to like in Boston or other areas where you can sort of read about, you know, what happened historically in the area. So that is something that we are considering through the use of signage.
Any other, Councilor Sheffield?
Yes, you said part of the walkway would encompass a piece of property along the way. Would there need to be an easement of some kind, or would the portion of the property have to be sold in some way or transferred?
We had been working with some of the private property owners there in sort of just pitching this idea, but that's a little bit outside the scope of our project. We're kind of just making recommendations for the area in case y'all wanted to move forward with it in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we would need to go through some process to either get an easement or purchase or possibly, if there's development of that land, incorporate the walkway into that development of that project. Are there any other councilors that have any questions or comments? Okay. Thank you, Riverwalk team. I appreciate that. I appreciate what you guys are doing and the amount of energy and effort that you're putting into this. It's a great presentation. Thank you, and thank you, Sierra.
For having us. Have a good evening.
So now we will go to communication report, and we will start with Councilor McKay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I guess I'll kind of go back a few weeks to March 13th. We had our last indoor farmers market. I very much enjoy going to those every month, and I look forward to this summer when they start up outside at Washington Park in July. I really sincerely hope we can do this again next year, because it was something I very much look forward to. And then on March 17th, I attended Sierra Patrick's kickoff meeting for the pedestrian bikeways network access assessment, excuse me. And basically what we'll be doing is doing some street audits and coming up with some hopefully fun and engaging ways to get residents of our city out and walking in the streets. We're going to have our next meeting, and this is open to anyone that wants to join. Get on the City of Groton website, go to departments, to the economic development, and there's, if you scroll down, you'll find the pedestrian bikeways information there. And we're going to be meeting at Washington Park on the 21st of this month, and we're actually going to take a walk together and have some good discussions out on the road. So I hope somebody new can join us and bring their ideas. And this past Saturday, I attended the Egg Extravaganza out front. It was very well attended. It was fun. I saw the Easter Bunny, and I think it was McGruff.
McGruff was there.
McGruff, okay. So That was a really fun event, and I look forward to doing that again next year. Hopefully, it can be more in person. This was more COVID cautious this year. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Norris.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Okay. Councilor Sheffield.
Yes, a few things, going back to March 3rd.
Okay.
Going back to March 3rd, I attended the Economic Development Commission meeting via Zoom, Sierra Patrick, so that was a, again, informative meeting. Then on March 8th and 9th, attended the National League of Cities Conference from Washington, D.C. via Zoom. That was an outstanding conference. It's a lot of positive things, particularly for the local communities such as ours with the American Rescue Plan Act, which we can, local towns and cities can now receive money directly for economic development programs. So I'm really excited about that because the previous act from last year only provided funds for municipalities at least 500,000 people. And there's no place in the state with that population. So the entire state would have been collected for the first act. This act will provide that for all of us. So that's a great thing that's being done. Certainly discussion about the COVID-19 relief. Dr. Fauci, Dr. Walensky spoke during the conference and the importance of masking, the vaccine, making sure that we're taking that vaccine. And I think it's important for us to, again, as counselors, to spread that amongst our own people, residents here, that the vaccine is important and it's necessary and it works. So we need to spread that word around amongst ourselves to the community. And let's see, and on April 1st, attend the joint highway budget meeting with Deputy Mayor Depot, Councilor McKay, with Councilors Heedy, Spiri, and Melendez in the town. Deputy Mayor Depot provided an outstanding presentation of the budget, and I think you're very receptive from the town, and I think hope things could come out of it. So we'll see. And that's all.
Thank you. Councilor Carter.
Nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. On March 13th, I also attended the farmer's market, got my regular fish and coffee. It's like the things that I get at the farmer's market. And again, I think it was great that we could do it in the winter. That's obviously not a normal thing, but an idea that we had this year to kind of help people. I think it was helpful too for people who shop at a regular grocery store. This feels a little safer. Everyone thinks socially distanced. You can get the things you need without having to go into like a really busy store. On March 16th, I attended the planning and zoning public hearing that included the project at Five Corners. There has been a lot of feedback from residents on the Five Corners project. That hearing has been continued to April 20th at 6:30 p.m. And I would just encourage any residents that have feedback or questions about that project to please contact the city planner's office. That is the best way to have your voice heard or get your questions answered. She's the one to answer them. And she's very nice. I encourage you to chat with her if you have any questions. Again, that meeting is continued to April 20th at 6:30 p.m. On March 23rd, I volunteered at St. John's Christian Church with other city employees for another food box distribution. The next one will be on April 27th at 3:30 p.m. from 3:30 to 5:30. And the food box, like always, it's available to anybody that can use a box of food. Please come.
It's at 12:30.
Did you change it?
I had to.
Oh.
Sorry.
Correction. The food box distribution will be at 12:30. Thank you. Thank you, Jill. And thank you, Jill, for organizing it. Jill has done a great job organizing these food box distributions, and thank you to St. John's for letting us host them there. It's such a great location. They have a natural in and out of their parking lot and a place for volunteers to park, so it works really well. On March 31st, there was another food box distribution sponsored by the Groton Public Schools Nutrition Program. It was their very last one, and I just want to say thank you to them because they've done a couple in the city at Washington Park, and we always have a great response. There's always people who can use the food, and just want to thank them for that. That is their last one that they're sponsoring, at least until I assume the winter. On April 1st, I chaired the 3-on-3 highway budget meeting, and Councilor McCabe and Councilor Sheffield and I attended with the town councilors, Councilor Heed, Melendez, and Sapiri. We presented the city highway budget, which according to the charter is presented, the town pays for our city highway budget. So we presented to them, the 3 councilors who were at that meeting will then present it to the town council as a whole, and then they will approve it. I think, we had town staff attend and they did a great job answering questions for Public Works, and the finance director fielded all of our questions and questions from the town councilors, and I think they did a great job answering them. And I want to thank them for being available for that. It was a 5 p.m. meeting, so I'm sure it made a long day for them. And on Friday, April 2nd, I attended a Sailor of the River celebration. And they're a local veteran, George Highland, through the Fleet Reserve Association, every quarter works with the Coast Guard. They nominate a Sailor of the Quarter, and Mr. Highland presents them with a plaque and a luncheon, and it's just a good time. They invited myself and the mayor, and we got to chit chat with some of the Coast Guard sailors, see how they're doing, see what we can do in the city of Groton while they're stationed here to make them, connect more to the community, that type of thing. It was really nice. There were probably like 25 people there, I think, or 20, something like that. So that was really nice. And they do it every quarter, and it's just a good perk for the sailors for performing really well. And then Saturday, April 3rd, I attended the Easter Extravaganza with Councilor McCabe, which was fun. We got to wave at all the little kiddos, and they were so cute. Some of them had little bunny ears and stuff. And the Easter bunny was ecstatically dancing at the end, which was very funny to all of us. It's very entertaining. And, we did the drive-through version this year. And I just want to thank Parks and Rec Director Mary Hill, who logistically figured out how to do that, how to get that functioning so we didn't have to cancel it, because last year it was the beginning of COVID and we didn't have our hands around how to manage COVID-safe Easter egg things, so we had to cancel it. But this year Mary Hill figured out how to make that safe and still fun. So that was really good. And the last thing is the town beautification committee has contacted me about, they want to do a town cleanup on April 24th. Yes. So I don't know who that referral should go to or where that should go to. Is that on your
We
list?
got some of this. I will be briefing some more on that, but you're right.
And that is all.
Okay, thank you. So I want to talk about, just real quick, the Easter egg extravaganza, but the Parks and Rec director and staff have, during this year of COVID that we spent together, have come up with new and innovative ways that have been family friendly, and to get people out of the house, get them involved. This extravaganza was one of them. We had the trivia night down at the beach. We had the Scarecrow Trail, all these things that have been done. So this is tremendous things that we give back to the community in an effort to help normalize things when everything is but normal at this point. So a couple things, some of this is reiteration. On Tuesday, March 16th, Planning and Zoning opened the commission regarding the 5 corners. A copy of the hearing can be found on the city's Facebook page. Any comments should be emailed to the city planner at CREANEL at cityofgroton-ct.gov, or presented in person at the next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on April 20th at 6:30. That's a public hearing. On Wednesday, March 17th, City of Groton hosted a Red Cross blood drive On the 23rd, the city teamed up with the United Way of Southeastern Connecticut at St. John's Christian Church, and we distributed 400 food boxes to our neighbors then. Sidewalks on Brandy Avenue were temporarily closed from March 22nd to April 2nd to allow for the installation of guardrails, a new sidewalk, and stairs near the new elementary school construction site. On Wednesday 24th, I attended the town's long-term recovery meeting. And on Thursday, March 25th, City of Groton celebrated city residents Rose Sheets' 100th birthday. So that was pretty cool. We had a little parade and read a proclamation, and Chief Spellman was there for the police. Chief Tompkins was there with the fire department and presented her with flowers and proclamations. So that was very neat. On the 26th, the planner Nutmobile and Oscar Meyer Wienermobile visited the municipal building. There was a great turnout. That was another COVID-friendly event. They're doing a tour, and we were contacted by the Eastern Connecticut, that's not true, of the Greater Mystic Chamber of Commerce. On Tuesday, March 30th, the City of Groton hosted Levelizing Health District COVID-19 vaccination clinic. We had 500 second doses were administered. On April 1st, Deputy Mayor Depot talked about the 3-on-3. And Saturday, we did the extravaganza, which was tremendous. We handed out over 480 bags of eggs to the kiddos. Now, these were plastic eggs. They weren't boiled eggs, but so they weren't projectiles, but these were plastic eggs, toys and candy, and just the looks on their faces, and the parents were excited. This was a tremendous event. And then starting today, the city municipal building will be open Monday to Thursday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The upcoming events, the City of Groton is hosting a spring cleanup day on Saturday, April 24th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in conjunction with the Town of Groton Beautification Committee. We'll meet at the municipal building by 9:45. And if you're interested in participating, please email us at mayor@cityofgroton-ct.gov. That's mayor@cityofgroton-ct.gov. More information will be available on the city website and social media. We're going to be cleaning up portions of the city. We'll be working with Pfizer. Pfizer typically doesn't adopt a section portion, which is in front of Pride's Center and 40 Thieves and Norms, and cleans that up and mulch and things like that. So that's our cleanup day. And then the City of Groton is working with the Levelizing Health District and Branford Manor to schedule a mobile COVID-19 vaccine clinic at Branford Manor. So more information will be provided as soon as the dates are determined and how we're going to do this. We are the overall in general, there are some challenges with getting certain populations vaccinated. And I've worked with Steve Mansfield, who's director of Levelizing Health, and we're going to take the clinic to the community. So we are going to reach out. We're going to go in to the communities, and we're going to bring the vaccine to the community if we can't get the community to come to the vaccine. So this is something that we've been working on for a little bit, and we're going to have our first one here before the end of April. So that's a good thing there. Second thing is I want to draw your attention to the budget. You all have your budget books in front of you. I will read the letter. For the presentation, it says, "Dear members of the City Council, as required by Article 6, Section 2A of the Charter, I submit to you the proposed budget for fiscal year 2022, FY 2022. I am submitting a budget which includes an increase of $2,078,043 in comparison FY 2021. The large increase in the proposed budget includes contractual services for assistance with the additional inspections that may be required due to large construction projects. As a fiscal year 2021 budget, these additional contractual services will be funded through the use of fund balance based on unexpended contractual services that were budgeted for FY 2020 and FY 2021. This budget also follows the FY 2021 budget with funding for capital projects and continues efforts to reserve funds for future purchases of vehicles. The use of the undesignated fund balance will be $2,600,000. This will leave a healthy reserve of 24.13%, slightly more than FY 2021. The proposed budget would produce no change in the mill rate, maintaining the mill rate of 4.3 mils. The city continues to be fiscally responsible. So if you go back to the beginning, back in 17, when many of us were first elected, in the first 3 years, we lowered taxes in the city of Groton. Last year, during the COVID year, we maintained the mill rate at 4.3 mils. This year, we're going to continue to maintain the mill rate at 4.3 mils. So the question is, how are we able to do that? And is it sustainable? So let me answer it this way. The way that we're able to do this and not raise taxes and still be able to do capital projects is because of the fees that are coming from the construction projects that are being built at Electric Boat and at Pfizer. Okay? We have the typical fee schedule for an average year outside these last 2 or 3 years is $270,000 to $300,000 a year. In FY 21, we had $2.8 million fees. In FY 22, we had $1 million in fees. That's the estimate for FY 22. So we are able to maintain the mill rate low because we have the fees. Our lenders have recommended, and by tradition, we have accepted the general fund to be in a band of 20 to 25%. We're at the high end of that band, so that should something happen, we don't drive down the general fund and we don't deplete our rainy day fund. This is, and one of the things that we're doing, so one of the questions you asked is this sustainable? For the long term, this is not sustainable, and here's why. At some point, Electric Boat will stop building $1 billion building and several $100,000 buildings because the construction will be complete. And so therefore those fees will not be coming in. But what's going to happen is you have the building, and then once the building is commissioned and you have a certificate of occupancy, it then goes on to the tax rolls. Now, in the case of Electric Boat, many of the buildings are in the enterprise zone. So what does that mean? The enterprise zone is a financial method for financing, which gives them a break on the payback. So what happens is there's a 5-year payback, and they pay 20% every year up to the 100%, and then it's maxed out for the taxable base on that grant list. So the challenge that we have is the fees are going along, and we're building up and down on fees. And then at some point, you start to come up with the taxes. The question is going to be, where is that gap? And are we going to have enough money? And that's why we're keeping the money set aside, so that when you have that gap, your taxes don't go way up. One of the things that we're doing here, instead of going up and down, is we're levelizing taxes. And I think that's very important for those people out there, especially people that are on fixed incomes and people with everybody with families. It's hard normally. And so what I'm trying to do in our fire district, in our borough, in the city of Groton, is to levelize taxes. And so far, we've been able to do that, and we're going to be able to do that for the next couple of years. And then by that time, the tax roll should start to come up, and we should be okay. One of the increases that we've been seeing is in capital projects. We're buying vehicles, we're allocating for vehicles, we're fixing things. We're fixing the lights to Washington Park. We fixed the windows. One of the things for tonight is windows down at the Tyler House. So we are doing capital improvement projects on assets in the city that need to be done instead of kicking them down the road. And then at some time, if we need to fiscally, if we need to tighten our fiscal belt, then we could slow down on capital spending. And that way we still maintain the services that we have become used to receiving as citizens in the state. So that's the thing that I'm going to tell you about the budget and going forward. I gave you a budget schedule, and basically by charter, I'm required to give you the budget tonight. The proposed budget will be published on April 12th. And so April 12th and April 19th, we will be discussing the budgets. Also on April 19th, the city will hold a public hearing on the budget. And then on May 17th, City Council will approve the budget. So we have the election on May 3rd. The mayor and council are sworn in on the 10th. And then on the 17th, the City Council approves the budget. So that is the schedule going forward. All right, I gave you the update. So I have one last thing, and then we'll continue to move forward. It's not me, right?
But there's no light on the microphone, so does that?
Oh, okay.
Okay, that turned it back on.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. So from the office of the mayor, City of Groton, Connecticut, a proclamation, a week of the young child 50th anniversary. Whereas the first years of a child's life are the period of most rapid brain development and lay the foundation for all future learning. And whereas high quality early care and education can help ameliorate the effects of poverty, detect and remediate delays, identify and help prevent child neglect, and lead to positive outcomes for individual children, helping them be prepared for school and more likely to succeed in life. And whereas in Connecticut, 71% of children under the age of 6 have all available parents in the workforce. And whereas the majority of early childhood education costs, which often exceed the cost of year tuition by parents who often do not afford it. And whereas working families need robust subsidies, scholarships, and tax credits for families at all income levels that support the true cost of quality early childhood education. And whereas participation in high quality early childhood education saves taxpayer dollars, makes working families more economically secure, and prepares children to succeed in school, earn higher wages, and live healthier lives. Therefore, be it resolved that the city of Groton is hereby proclaim April 10th through 16th, 2021 as the Week of the Young Child, and urge all members of our community to support efforts that increase children and families' access to high quality early childhood education. Given under my hand this day, 5th day of April 2021, signed Keith Edrick, Mayor of City of Groton. Okay. Are there any, the next item is committee referrals. Are there any committee referrals from the council? Okay, moving on. The next resolution is Deputy Mayor Deacon.
Thank you. Resolution R-21-4-61, therefore be it resolved that the council approve the appointment of Zofia Bauman, 528 Shinnecock Road, Unit G, Groton, Connecticut, as an alternate member of the Harbor Management Commission, term to expire on April 5th, 2024. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. So the discussion we have, I have new information today. A member that is a regular member that is on the Harbor Management Commission resigned today. So I would like to get an amendment to this to make her a regular member. And then we will go through and we'll clean up the clean up the language. But we'll need an amendment to make her a regular member of the harbor management. Sorry. And if we can get the motion and the second to agree.
I move we amend the resolution to read regular member.
Second.
Okay, and second. So we're going to vote on the amendment. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, abstention, motion carries. Now, we will vote on the amended motion. So is there any further discussion? Deputy Mayor Depot.
At the risk of being a broken record on these appointments, all of these commissions are volunteer, and this one in particular, her resume is elaborate. She has a lot of education that will most likely help her make decisions for harbor management. So I'm just really happy that she's volunteered to do it, because again, it's volunteering your own hours to help make good decisions for the city. So I just want to thank her for volunteering.
Thank you. We already voted. We didn't vote. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. All right, Councilor Sheffield.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-4-62. Therefore be resolved that the mayor and council authorize and approve a donation of $500 and no cents to USSVI Clubhouse Annual Appeal, 40 School Street, Groton, Connecticut. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed at the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Say aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Carter.
R-21-4-63. Therefore be resolved that the mayor and council initially approved an ordinance authorizing the mayor and council to approve increases to retirees' pensions up to and including those who retired in 2017 as recommended by the city of Groton Retirement Board. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor McCabe.
Resolution R-21-4-64, therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council initially approve an ordinance establishing fees for building permits, an amendment to ordinance 190, and that this ordinance be effective upon passage. I so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Right, is there, this was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Norris.
Resolution R-21-465.
Sir.
Therefore, be resolved that the mayor and council waive the bid process and provisionally approve the authorized contract of the GESCO Incorporated 86 Climates Road, Avon, Connecticut for Phase 2 renovations of the Tyler House at Eastern Point Beach, not to exceed $140,178 to be paid from capital funds. So I move.
Second.
What, did you say 170? You said,
$140,175 and no cents.
all right, thanks. I thought you said something else. All right, we have a motion. Who's the second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Deputy Mayor Depot.
I just want to remind people that these are the, we had a freedom vote to get these bond funds that were just sitting there reused, or repurposed rather, to be used to fix the Tyler House. Anyone that's been down to the beach knows that we need to fix several little things. The house is old and needs constant maintenance, and we haven't been spending any money on maintaining it, because we're trying to get these passed since before COVID, so, I'm just happy that the money is being repurposed and that it's gonna, improve the look and the function of the house, because I think the more we let it deteriorate in that area is really risky. There's lots of birds and bad weather down there, so just happy that it's getting moved along.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Deputy Mayor Demo.
Resolution R-21-4-66. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the 2021 City of Groton Recreation Department user fee as so moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Okay, this was discussed during the committee of the whole, but there were some questions. I will open the floor up for discussion. Anybody else? Deputy Mayor Demo.
Okay, so I had several questions about rule changes and fees at the beach. Last year, we had changed it so the City of Groton residents could enter the beach for free after 5 or 6 o'clock, I forget which one. And this year, it was proposed by the Beach and Parks Committee that we change that back. I still don't have any context as to why that rule change was presented. I don't see any reason, no reason has been presented financially why we would do that. Most of the people that rule change was instigated a little bit last year by residents complaining that they couldn't get into the beach for free. And after that time, because they want to use the concession stand. Now, last year it kind of became a moot point because we didn't have the concession stand, but I just don't see any reason to change that rule to further exclude people who can't afford or, have it budgeted for a beach pass. I understand that to a lot of us, $32 or whatever it is for a city resident, $32 is not a ton of money, but for a family, that's at least a couple days of groceries. And I don't, some people might just rather buy groceries than a beach pass. And I just don't see any reason to change that rule. That's my main issue with the rules. I also have a question about the Zbierski house rentals, which the price for those is they're looking to increase it quite a bit. So previously you could rent the Zbierski house as a city resident for $25 an hour, which is $100 for 4 hours, which 4 hours is like a reasonable amount of time to have a party, I feel like. So a lot of residents will rent it for 4 hours, $100. The increase would bring that amount to $160. I feel like that increase is not, it puts it in a different bracket of expense at that point, I think. And I don't see, it looks like last year, the estimate for the year ending June 30th, the Zbierski house has brought in a little over $16,000 and in rentals. And I would prefer if maybe we could see if even if the economic development department could help maybe marketing the Z house more. When we look at the numbers of how often the Zbierski house is rented, there's lots of days where that house is empty. And I would prefer that if we want to increase the revenue coming from the Zbierski house, that we, instead of raising the prices for people who commonly rent it now, that we try to rent it more often. Because I know a lot of people who rent the Zbierski house, including myself, once a year, if not more, and it's a lot of the same people. So just in my opinion, I don't think that that's the right move to put further burden on the people who are already providing revenue to the city by renting the Zbierski house. I don't think raising the rates is going to increase the number of people renting it. It's only going to punish the people who already rent it. So I would like to see us not change that rule for the city residents to be able to get in free after 6, and for the Zbierski House fees to stay the same the way they are.
Okay, get back to you. Any other discussion? Councilor Carter?
It's just a comment, that I don't want to go back and forth. I don't have the time or patience for it tonight. I think with this, we have to look at, well, for starters, the beach is free to city residents. The beach is free. I'm not gonna about the beach, for Groton city residents, the beach is free. You can walk into the beach. Nobody's stopping any city resident from going to the beach. What we do is you pay for parking. So there is not one city resident that can say that they do not have access to the beach because it's free. I've been one that parked outside several times. I've also been one that has, if I happen to pay, I add it to a beach pass. I think with COVID and everything, the way it's set up now and structured now is it promotes people, residents to get city pass or to get passes. There's a lot to play that came into that decision. There's logistics. If you allow people in for free or residents in for free with their vehicles, that's going to cause several contacts. Or are you a city resident? Or you're not a city resident? You're a city resident? Or you're not a city resident? Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say is that on a monetary standpoint, we just have to look. I say we have to look at what the beach is to us, and naturally, any monetary standpoint, whether it's a little bit or half or anything, it shows value in what that beach is. If we don't show any value to it, that's where you get the broken windows, etc. There's a study that shows that as well. Don't look that up. The last thing I'm going to say is that the Beach and Parks Committee worked very hard on this. I know that they took into consideration several things that Deputy Mayor Depot stated, and they also are members of this community, so they have to say as well. So as I agree with what's written here, I really know how much time they put into it. So I'm gonna ask that, whatever changes that we think needs to be made, let's make them now so this can proceed, but they put a lot of work into this. That's just my 2 cents.
Okay. Any other council?
Yes.
Councilor Norris.
Unfortunately, a little new to this. So my understanding is at the Zbierski House, if we approve the proposed fees, that the Parks and Recreation Department within one season, so to speak, or a year, could potentially raise an additional $6,500 in revenue. But I wonder, when was the last time rate to the Zbierski House was raised? And what has been the percent of increase in providing maintenance and everything else and utilities that come along with that? Because it would be interesting to know if that $6,500 is a break-even number, because it's costing the city $6,000 a year to maintain and make repairs, or is that truly a revenue gain?
Mary, do you have the answer for council? Yes, please. I'm sorry. If you could address the council. So the question is, how long when's the last time rates were changed? And does the rates cover the operation of the Zbierski House as far as you know?
So the rates haven't been changed in the last 16 years. They were 25 and 50 when I got here in 06. And we haven't, the only thing we added in that 15-year period was we now asked for a cash deposit to hold their space. So that way, if there's any damage, we have some kind of recourse to fix what's ever been damaged. So for 16 plus years, it's been 25 and 50. As for if the extra revenue, I don't have those numbers in front of me. But the Zabriskie House is a year-round facility. We are paying electricity on it year-round. We have oil. So, I mean, we have repairs. Our numbers of rentals has been lower in the last 2 years because we didn't rent last June until September, and now we're at half capacity of 50. Instead of 50, it's only parties of 25. Prior to that, it's pretty much every weekend from September till July. I mean, pretty much every weekend except maybe December and January, the place is rented. So I don't have the exact numbers in regards to the actual cost of the Zabriskie House overall individually because it's all encompassed in the beach budget. So,
Thank you.
Any other comments from the council? Councilman McKay.
Yes, I have to say that I do agree with Deputy Mayor Depot in terms of the hours, letting city residents in for free at a certain point in the evening so they could take advantage of the concessions. But having said that, you know, I will vote to agree to these rules this year, but I would challenge that if we do have citizens out there, nobody has approached me. I know Glenn has had people approach her last year, you know, which was the reason why she's advocating to have this happen. I encourage anyone to reach out to me if they have any issues, so that I think that the Parks and Rec, we should be informing the committee over the course of this year so that next year we could revisit and express, you know, hey, I've had citizens, you know, other counselors have had a citizen request, and maybe we could revisit it next year. So, and I do think it's an excellent idea to utilize Economic Development Committee to somehow put it out there that the Zabriskie House is there available for rental. I think that's a great idea. Get more people to take advantage of that opportunity that the city offers.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you. Oh, I just wanted to say the change or the rules that as presented are a rule change. So we're not going to have heard any complaints from residents this year regarding the getting in free after 6, because last year that was the rule change that we made. So my issue with it is, you know, as Councilor Carter stated, I understand the Beach and Parks Committee goes over these rules, but I asked for an explanation from why this rule change was presented, even though we just changed it last year to allow city residents in free. The minutes just say rule changes, make the residents pay to get in after 6 o'clock. It doesn't say who presented it, why it was brought up, the reason why we would change that rule, if it would generate extra revenue. None of those things are explained. So my issue is we are changing the rule for no apparent reason, because no reason has been brought. And I understand, you know, the things that we discussed last year in the meeting. You know, we discussed trash. Trash is always a problem on the beach because of the wind. You blows it right out of the trash bins, blows the trash bins over. It's the nature of the beach. But I don't see any reason why we should exclude residents who want to use the beach for getting, you know, to get in after the beach isn't busy anymore. After 6 p.m., most people have left that spend the day at the beach. This would be a rule change for no stated reason. So my issue with it isn't just that it's taking access. And I understand you can walk into the beach, and Councilor Carter, as he stated, you know, you can park outside, but when we were kids, you could park anywhere outside the beach, and those rules have changed. So now most of the parking there is resident only, close to the beach within walking distance. There's a small strip, I think, that you can still publicly park, but it still is restricting access because people won't be able to drive in for free. And concerning contact, if you walk in, you also have to show ID if you're a city resident. So it's the same amount of contact you would have driving in to show your ID that you're a city resident. And again, I understand that the Beach and Parks Committee goes over these rules, but we ultimately vote on them. And the budget is in our hands. And the Beach and Parks, the aim is to have the recovery rate be 20 to 50%. So what the revenue brings into the Beach and Parks, the goal is to make it 20 to 50%. And the recovery rate for last year was 40%, which is pretty high on that scale. I don't think that it serves the community well, especially in the time of COVID, to start charging them more money for something they're accustomed to having, or to make them pay for the few people who it's not a huge group of people that are coming into the beach for free after 6 o'clock. So I don't think we should be serving the community, not trying to make them pay to value the services. Yes, we want people to pay for the beach. Those people already pay for the beach. What it will do is make people not use the beach after 6 o'clock.
Mayor? You have the floor.
So, for 3 years, 17, 18, 19, we charged half price for everybody at the gate. It changed last year. We didn't get to implement it because of COVID, but it wouldn't be a revenue increase. It would be a revenue loss. Roughly 8,000 people come to our beach between the hours of 5 and 8 p.m. yearly. That's a lot of people in that time frame. Some of them have beach passes, so we don't count those. We count them. That's how we know what the numbers are. We don't count differential between resident and non-resident when we did the half price fee, because we didn't ask who you were, because everybody got charged the same. So I don't have a statistic to tell you that this many residents paid and this many non-residents paid at the gate from 8 to 5 p.m. because that's not a statistic that we keep. It will be a revenue loss of about $5,200 that also comes in, and that's just for gate fees. It doesn't attribute to whoever might have bought a beach pass so they can get in after 6 o'clock. But this was this came about from 2013, 14, and 15, and 16. We did a study when we did close at 6 o'clock, and it wasn't for financial gain, it was for respect of a property. We had people who felt at 6 o'clock, the beach closed and the rules and regulations did not have to be adhered to. They were out there on their flotation devices, which by insurance, we are told what kind of flotation devices we're allowed to have. They were out there on boogie boards. They were drinking, there were dogs, they were smoking, and we did have the ordinance, like 2 ordinances that came in 2013. That's what promoted us to do beach patrol, so we could study what was happening at the property. And that's why the fee was instituted in 2017, and that's why the Beach and Parks Committee would like to continue that, because the beach does have added expenses when people disrespect it. You know, there are some things I won't share with this council that we have to endure, because it's that kind of disgusting stuff that we have to do because of the lack of respect people had at the beach. So that's one of the big reasons why it was implemented in 2017. And that's why the committee wanted to go back to it this year. Does that help any?
I have a question. I don't know if I can ask a question or not.
No, you can, Counselor.
So, yeah, so, this is a question to the mayor.
The mayor, okay.
So, listen, I'm not going back and forth. So I really want this to pass, yet I know that possible others want to change. Is there a possibility to do whatever wants and get it passed so we can pass it?
Well, and I was going to talk about that as soon as discussion has, once everybody's discussed, I'm gonna tell you what I would like to do. I'll offer up to council so that we can get success. Did you, Deputy Mayor Deeper, did you have something else?
I just had another comment, you know, for the discussion of people respecting the beach. We also didn't previously have lifeguards on duty until 8 p.m. And I think we had 1 supervisor until 8 p.m. and we're increasing that this year to be till 8 p.m. So there won't be opportunity between 6 and 8 p.m. where we will have beach patrol, we will have lifeguards. There will be people there monitoring the rules, which obviously, you know, if that was an issue before, if we have staff there till 8 p.m., then the rules will be obeyed till 8 PM anyways. So I don't see that being any difference maker.
That was, so when it was presented at the committee of the whole, that change from 8 to 8 for lifeguards was contingency on if we went back to the gate being charged till 8 o'clock. As I presented, if we were to stay open and charge half price for everybody at the gate to 8, then we would man it with lifeguards to 8 o'clock. Previous, it was only we had our beach gate attendants, and then we had a beach patrol, 2 people, beach patrol. And that was, they kind of went together. If we stayed open to 8 and charged half price for everybody, we would have, and that was because one of the committee members, you all recall last year, we did have one committee member who was not in favor of changing or keeping it as is and closing at 6 because we didn't have staff. So that was the compromise that the committee came up with. We'd man it with lifeguards till 8 if we charged everybody half price from 5 to 8 PM. But again, they're just their recommendations. You guys can do what you feel is reasonable within the department.
Deputy Mayor.
I have one last question actually about that increase. So the increase for the Zvirsky house, well, I don't know if it's a question really, but the proposed increase in rental rates would theoretically bring in more revenue. However, if we are charging more money, there is a possibility we're going to have less renters. So if we're basing that on the amount that it's been rented in the past, it's probably not going to be that accurate, because for one, I don't think I will rent it at that increased price because I can go somewhere else for nothing or less or whatever. Part of the draw is that it's so cheap, you might as well rent the beach house. Which again, I understand the desire to bring in more revenue, but the recovery rate of the beach and parks department is already at 40%. That's just the beach. So beach, I apologize, you're right, not parks. For the beach is 40%. So to try to bring in more money at the cost of providing services, I don't think is worth it. And to have lifeguards and beach patrol on duty till 8, there's no physical connection to that being when we charge city residents. There's no reason why if we as a council want to fit that into the budget, because we pay the cost over the income through the budget for the beach. There's no reason why we can't say it is worth it to pay lifeguards and beach patrol till 8 and only charge non-residents half price after 5 or 6 or whatever it's set to right now. I would propose that we adopt the rules and keep the Zvirsky rates the same as last year and keep the beach free to city residents at the time that it is now, which I think is 6 o'clock.
Can I say something? I would suggest that we do what Deputy Mayor Depot wants, so we could get this passed. If we don't take account for inflation, we don't want to do that. That's just make it the same. That's just pass this. And I'm not acting a certain way, but this needs to be passed. So let's do what. Okay.
As council,
We don't need to talk about it.
if council has spoken, I will tell you what I'm going to suggest. Okay, in an effort to move this forward. And so we have 5 councilors tonight. In accordance with the charter, you have to have 4 affirmative votes to pass motions and resolutions and everything else. Today is the 5th. We would, if this got locked up and got back to committee, then it would go back to a committee on the 14th, and it might be looked at the 19th, or it might not. If we don't look at this in April, the first time you will look at this in May is 17 May because of the election and the swearing in. So I'm painting the reality of the time constraints that we have. And instead of putting this in for an up or down motion, what I was going to suggest is to Deputy Mayor Depot, and we'll take these one at a time, if you would like to make an amendment to this, and then we vote on the amendment, and the amendment either passes or fails, and then when you're done, the very last motion that you will vote on is the amended rules.
You're on fees. We're on user fees.
What did I say? Okay, sorry, the fees. The document that we're talking about. Because the document we're talking about, that's the thing, I don't care what you call it. It's the document that we're talking about here, that we are talking about rates. So, is the council good with that approach?
Yes.
Because that meets Robert's rules. It also will help us move forward, and we will not get, in theory, we will not get wrapped around the axle and then put Parks and Rec Director Hill in a bind with trying to move forward with fees and beach passes and all kinds of things. Because we're going to do this motion, then we're going to do the same. We're going to discuss the next one. So is that acceptable to the council? You guys okay? Are you okay with that? Okay, so we're all right. Deputy Mayor Depot, you'll need to take us to the page in this section,
Well, I have a clarifying question.
okay?
Is for the conspiracy house fees, do I have to go know all the exact numbers?
Just say the remaining percentage.
That's what I mean, can I just say, move them to remain the
4 hours instead of $100, 106.
Increase $15 per hour.
15 per hour.
Okay. So,
All right, so take one motion at a time.
well, so do I need to make a motion for each amended sentence?
Well, for example, if on page 8, you were looking at the 5 to 8, that would be one, well, and I don't know if it's mentioned in the other, wherever else it's
Right.
mentioned.
Okay.
That makes sense?
So I'd like to amend the resolution on page 8 under daily rates to read from 5 PM to 8 PM, half-price parking daily for non-residents and free for city residents.
Okay, that's your motion?
Yep.
And we need a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second, so we have a motion, a second. Now we can open the floor for discussion. Councilor Sheffield.
Yes, is there a state law went into effect about public beaches to where you can't charge for residents and non-residents differently? Is that?
There is a study, correct me if I'm wrong, or do you want to address this? Okay, Parks and Rec Director Hill will address this. This is currently at the state level, Mary.
Well, there's two parts to this. So in 2002, you are correct, a while back, there was legislation that stated, that now has a state law that's why our beach isn't resident only anymore. Like it was back before 2001, where it was just residents only. There was legislation that was put in that you can't be exclusive, lack of a better word. It can't be exclusive just to residents only. I wasn't here at that time, but I did look into the research that was done. It was recommended you could for parking, you could have a different price for your, well, they decided a different price for their passes, because those were reasonably, the resident fee was 32 when they kind of doubled it for the non-resident fee. It was recommended that for no disparity being taken at the gate, that the gate rate would be the same for everybody that came through. And that's been the status quo since 2002. We've tried to maintain that guideline that was given by the city attorney at that time. I do know with COVID last year, I know Mayor Hedrick was in touch with our current attorneys in regards to some of the things that we did last year, because we did close it off to non-residents on the weekends. And there was some discrepancies whether we could do that. We did call the state office that we had to talk to up there, and we were okayed with what we did. Are we going to move forward doing that this year? No. There is now a study being done at the legislative office, because there was another proposal brought back because of what some of us did last year during COVID and eliminating non-residents from our facilities. They were going to look at whether we should be treated like a state park. A state park in the state of Connecticut, if you have a Connecticut license plate, you get in for free. And the legislation was going that way, but now they're doing a year-long study to see what other communities do. Unfortunately, some of our communities down the Greenwich area, their residents pay like $50 and their non-resident fee is $775. So there's some disparities down there. So unfortunately though, that still affects us having our quaint little beach here in Groton, Connecticut. So we do try to stay within that guideline that is set forth by a state law that was put in place in 2002.
Okay. So discussion on this amendment. Deputy Mayor.
I just want to say, we did discuss that at the last meeting, and we charge a different rate for our passes already. So I don't see how it's inconsistent to then also charge a different rate from 5 to 8. It's consistent with that. So I don't, if we were going to charge the same rate for everybody, then that would make sense. But we already charge non-residents a different rate.
The goal from the attorney in 2002 was to make sure if we did it in one spot, not to do it in all spots. Have it in one area, which we do on our beach passes, but not have it all inclusive in the beach. Have some areas of the beach where you're not having that disparity, and that was why the gate was that area, based on my research.
Deputy Mayor Depot.
Have we gotten an opinion from another attorney since we've had this discussion
No.
about that?
We have not. Okay, so is there any further discussion on this amendment? Okay, so this amendment is to 5 to 8, half price parking daily for non-residents and free for residents, except for special events. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Councilor
All right,
Sheffield.
so for special events, is it gonna be a certain fee for everybody? Or
Yeah, there's a section here that talks about special events.
Well, I'm saying for resident and non-resident for the special event, are those consistent, or are they gonna be?
So on page 9, when special events were put in way back 2012, when an upsell, I think, came back, a parking fee without a pass for a special event would be $40 for anybody who didn't have a pass on their vehicle that day. And that's just because, I mean, our parking lot was full in 2012 at 8:30 in the morning. So they put that in. We only really have one special event now in the city, and it's Sailfest, fireworks night. And most people that come to that are people who buy a pass. We have very little traffic of people who just come for the day.
Councilor Norris. You have the floor.
I think what the biggest challenge for the state is right now, and the reason why they're doing this survey, which will take a different turn, is the word reasonable, because they do have towns south of the state that are, 4 or 5 times of what the resident would pay. So that's the key word here, is what's reasonable. And, we were charging nothing for residents and $100 for non-residents, then we're approaching that idea of being unreasonable. I guess the bigger question is, just doing it the way as this amended motion is, does that put an unnecessary burden upon the staff? Because now you are essentially stopping every single vehicle that comes in and having them to verify that they are a city resident. And I'm not quite sure how you do that. Is it by driver's license registration? And is it, the registration doesn't match up the driver's license? So, operationally, maybe a sticking point.
Well, typically, I think we've used registration. For example, when we go get beach passes, we use registration. So that would be consistent with what we would use here. So, Deputy Mayor D.
I would think it wouldn't take any longer than exchanging money. If we're gonna charge people half price, they're gonna have to stop and pay money. So it might take a couple extra seconds to verify address.
Yep. Any other comments from council on this amended motion? This amendment? Hearing none? Let's see how we do this. Clerk Patrick, you ready? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Okay, your next amendment?
I'd like to propose motion to amend,
Just to a page and section.
I know, I'm trying to find it.
Sorry.
On page 12. On page 12, the this Fiscal house rental fees. I'd like to propose that we keep them the same as last year, which for, I can do this right, for city residents is $25 an hour. Non-residents is $50 an hour under private party. And I don't have the rates for business.
50 and 100.
It
was 50 and 100.
Okay. I think the business rate, I think that is fine to increase. I think because that, to me, it's reasonable to increase the charge to a business. My issue is with individual private parties. So actually, my motion is to change the city resident individual private party fee back to 25 and the non-resident back to 50, but to leave the rest of the changes as proposed.
So moved. Okay, we need a second.
Second.
A second, okay, discussion? Any discussion on it?
Can I just elaborate?
Yes.
So most of my issue is just with individual private parties. For businesses, I don't think it's unreasonable to charge a business $100 per hour to rent the Fiscal house. There are a lot of places that are more expensive than that, and a business is a lot different to me. They can, write that off as a business expense, that sort of thing. I think that is reasonable to increase those fees for businesses. It's the individual private parties that I have an issue with, because I think raising it from 25 to 40 and from 50 to 80, that's a large increase. And for individual people who want to have parties there, I just think that we should be more reasonable.
Okay. Councilor Sheffield, do you have a comment?
I think businesses are vital to the community. I would, if you're gonna lower to me for private individual parties, I think I would lower the businesses to attract, the welcomeness for the community. I think it should be consistent across the board for both, if we're gonna do that.
Okay, hold on a second. I gotta figure out how to do this. Councilor McCabe?
I guess my thought is it's not unreasonable after 16 years to raise the rate. I think that is a completely reasonable thing to do. Maybe if the rate increase could be a little more incremental, maybe that would be an idea this year, raise it a certain amount next, with the thought of getting to this point in the step rate. Just to see each time you raise it, are we losing income because we're not getting rentals coming in? That's just my thought.
Okay, Councilor Morris?
I'm sorry to say this also. I just think it's fiscally responsible that we do increase the rates at a moderate percentage. Maybe going up 50% to 60% is too much, but I think at least 8 to 10% is something we should be looking at, increasing fees across the board.
Okay, so.
I think, can I speak on the beach and parks committee?
Go ahead.
So I'm
Councilor
thinking,
Carter.
so I know, so that hike, in face value, it looks huge, right? But that's supposed to be having in the increments. If you look at it like that, right, we would have been up to this figure if we did this. So you look at it at face value, yes, it's like, okay, that's a big jump, but you can't look at it like that. You need to look at it as we haven't done anything in 15 years. And that's what the committee took into consideration when they made this jump, just like we did the same thing with the softball fields, et cetera. That's just my.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor, do you have your hand up?
I actually agree that an incremental increase would be in order. Because I do think that people would reasonably, if we don't increase it so much, people will go, oh, $5 more an hour, that's reasonable. But when we tell them, no one's renting the house for 1 hour, most likely. Most of the time they're renting it for multiple hours. So we've also got to think, my thing is I don't want to increase it so much that people stop renting it. And truthfully, businesses, it won't affect that because they'll pay the $100 an hour because businesses can expense that. It's a little bit different. And that's why I understand Councilor Sheffield's point about businesses, are vital. From the list that I got, businesses don't rent the Zbierski house. Anyways, actually, on the list that I got from the director. So my thing is, I don't want to discourage people from renting it. And again, I know several people who rent it on a routine basis, and I know that if we increased it $15 per hour, they will not rent it. So now I don't know what we do if we wanted to find a middle ground maybe and increase it $5 an hour on either end, and then plan to do that the next, couple of years to increase it maybe $5 a year up to a more reasonable amount would make sense.
So go ahead, Councilor Carter.
I would say, I would say again, you said you wanted to keep it the same. And I would have the Beach and Parks Committee look at it so they can give their 2 cents. And so we know that if it's going on, there should be an incremental increase, because I don't think, unless everybody here is going to figure out what's suitable, and we're, are we willing to do that? Or are we just, I feel like by doing this, we kind of take the Beach and Parks Committee out of it, I think. And I think, right? And I think that if Deputy Mayor Depot wants to go back and doesn't want to change things, I think we should keep things the way they were rather than take the Beach and Parks Committee out of the equation. That's my.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Norris?
I was going to say also, it would possibly be a little helpful if we had some type of benchmarking so we could compare to what other facilities look like.
Sure. Okay, is there any other discussion before we vote on this amendment? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carried. Are there any other amendments to this document? Let's do it that way. Okay. Now we are voting on Therefore be resolved, the mayor and council approve 2021 City of Groton Recreation Department user fees.
Do we need to make another motion to say as amended?
As amended. Okay, so this was going to Deputy Mayor Depot.
So I'll make a motion that the mayor and council approve the 2021 City of Groton Recreation Department user fees as amended.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Any hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, Councilor Sheffield.
Resolution R 21 4 67. Therefore, be resolved that the mayor and council approve the rules and regulations at Eastern Point Beach for the year 2021. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Deputy Mayor.
I would think it would be appropriate to make the same amendments, motions for amendments that would correspond to the last document.
Okay, so
I move that we amend on page 15 under daily rates for 5 to 8 p.m. half price parking daily for non-residents and free parking for city residents except on special events.
so we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? This is similar to the motion we just passed. Councilor Norris.
Because I'm the new guy. That's a question. So these proposed rates, are they reflected in the proposed budget that we have? So that needs to, the mechanics of that need to.
Well, we can
Well, address that.
we can evaluate that and address it when we review the
Okay, yeah.
the rules, not the rules, the budget, because you have two portions of the budget that are impacted. Actually, in this case, in one portion of the budget. Both of them? Never mind, we're good.
I apologize.
No, we're okay, but I am trying to move this on. Okay?
There'll be a revenue decrease
Yeah,
in the
understand.
budget, and then there'll be an added cost if we're required to keep lifeguards there till 8.
Okay. All right, is there any further discussion on this move? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Abstentions, motion carries. Okay, next place, is there another?
That's it for that.
Okay. So, yeah,
Will that be approved at the?
on Councilor Sheffield, we'll need you to do another, therefore be resolved for the, as amended. Page 21.
Therefore, be resolved, the mayor and council approve the rules and regulations as amended at Eastern Point Beach for the year 2021. I so move.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Carter.
R 21 4 68. Therefore, be resolved that the mayor and council approve the reappointment of George Mathenall, 67 Tyler Avenue, Groton, Connecticut, as a regular member of the Groton Utilities Commission, term to expire May 31st, 2025. That's it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. You probably remember that we just put George Mathenall on. He was filling the unexpired portion of Paul Duart's appointment. Now that that's going to be up, we are basically you're reappointing George for the new position.
When's that on? When's his current?
It finishes and it expires 31 May.
Of this year?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So how come we're doing it now rather than in May?
Because we have so few meetings in May, we didn't want to miss it.
What's that?
We have so few meetings in May, we didn't want to miss it.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you. Councilor McKay.
Resolution R-21-4-69. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize the city of Groton to waive the bid process and issue a purchase order for treated road salt to Champion Salt LLC, 170 Allen Avenue, Providence, Rhode Island, in an amount not to exceed $32,500.00 to be paid from funds available in the approved fiscal year 2021 Highway Department operating budget. I so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second discussion. This is new. We did not discuss this at the committee of the whole. This was brought to me because we're approaching toward the end of the fiscal year. We wanted to spend money. We wanted to go ahead and get the salt and get it ready for next year. And that way we can use it in this year's budget, and that'll extend next year's budget. So that's the logic behind doing that.
Cheaper?
It is cheaper. Deputy Mayor Debo.
There is a word missing in the text. It should say $32,500.
Yes, it should. 100 is missing.
And also, I was just going to ask, this is not the usual vendor for our salt, and I just wanted to point out, I think the issue that our usual vendor is not available and doesn't have the salt, so this is why we're waiving the bid process and going with this vendor.
Right, that is correct. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. I need a motion to enter into executive session pursuant Connecticut General Statute 1-206 alpha to discuss personnel, public works, to include council, HR Director Linda Avedisian, and William Robarge, and the mayor.
Second.
Okay, we are now in executive session. We're going to stay here. Okay, go ahead. We will coming out of this executive session.
Okay, you're back on? Yeah.
Oh, there. it is. Okay.
You're good.
Are we ready?
You're ready?
Okay, we're back. We are back from executive session. We're back in regular session. We have comments from the executive session. Clerk Patrick, can we just read the resolution or do I need to make a motion to add the resolution?
You have to add the resolution.
Okay.
It's not part of the agenda.
Understand. So comments from executive session. I need a motion. Need a motion to suspend the rules to add resolution R-21-4-70 to the agenda.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Norris, will you read R-21-4-70?
R-21-470. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the appointment of William Robage as the Director of Public Works for the City of Groton effective April 6th, 2021. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Take a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. We are adjourned. Council, thank you very much. Bill, thank you. Wendy, thank you. Jill and Deb,